And now starting to pick up the next event, which is the men's Masters 4 40 plus.
So, Masters category, they have to average at least 40 years of age in these fours, all of the athletes and the coxswain as well. So you've got 4 rowers, 1 coxswain in each of these boats. You're seeing that in probably all of the shells, you're going to see the coxswain laying down in the bow, as we've discussed throughout the morning. What that's like, I'll tell you, it's very exciting. It's very fun. You feel like you are going a million miles an hour. And there's no real vantage point where you can be that low to the water, I think, in any other type of boating situation that I can think of, unless you're maybe on like a kneeboard or something, if people still kneeboard. So you see these fours coming through that start line chute. Again, it's a staggered start. It's a head race, and they're not starting side by side. They're starting roughly every 10 seconds. There sometimes is some jockeying going on in terms of coming through that start line, as we see these men's Masters 4s come through. And these are actually some of the men's alumni 4s that were going through the start line. But we're now back with Western Reserve Rowing Association out of Cleveland. That is bow number 2 of this men's Masters 4 category. And they row on the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland. And their unisuits are ones that are very easy to pick out for us commentators on the video. And they came through weeks, it looked like, very well, set themselves up for Anderson.
Yeah, nice, clean water all around them. It's one of the advantages, not all the time, but often, of starting at the front of the pack, and you can see evidence of that as they move through Weeks now towards Anderson. A great spot to be in to get a Weeks footbridge behind you and on toward that last mile. Right as these shells come out of Anderson Bridge, they will be in that last mile mark. So it's time to kind of sit up, regroup, and get through the last stretch of the race. This is Anderson Bridge. That's bow number 2, Western Reserve Rowing Association.
So the storyline of this event on paper really is just the diversity of where these crews are coming from. You've got from the UK, Puerto Rico, Oregon, Delaware, Connecticut, Illinois, California, Tennessee, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, Washington, and Ohio, all in only 18 boats. So as you see bow 10 coming through, bow 10 in this event is North Adams Rowing Club from Williamstown, Mass. And also we're about to see bow number 8. I saw them sort of in the picture there for a second. Another storyline here, which is bow number 8 is a Massachusetts State Police crew that is sponsored by Community Rowing. So you have Massachusetts State Police rowing in bow number 8. That I think you'll get in the picture here relatively soon, as you see that boat from DC from, well, that actually looks like it's, maybe we're into the next event. So we were calling off, it looks like maybe that's the men's alumni 4s that we were looking at.
Fast and furious they come.
They do.
And some events, of course, are longer than others. So depending on the number of entries, we mentioned there's like over 100 entries in the youth 8s that we'll see a little bit later in the program, but certainly varies. So indeed, it looks like this is the men's alumni 4. They took off at 1:36 p.m. This is bow number 2, BMA Boat Club from New Canaan, Connecticut. They're Cornell alumni coming at us, and we'll kind of, with 9 cameras across the course, which is quite incredible, be able to hop around the race course. So we'll be moving between that men's Masters 4 event, the 40 plus, and the men's alumni. And
this is the aforementioned Massachusetts State Police rowers, and you can see them in the CRI equipment. And that's a very cool storyline for this men's Club 4, Masters 4 event.
Bow number 11 just off the other side of them, that's Nashville Rowing, a group of masters from Music City, Tennessee.
Nashville, very proud to call themselves Music City. And they've come from Tennessee, and they're probably pretty pleased with the weather, as any of the crews from the southeast or the south who have come to Boston this weekend and found themselves in 60 or 70 degree weather as opposed to 30 or 40.
This is Bowdoin College, that's bow number 5, so riding back with the men's alumni 4s, Bowdoin College 4.
And that's our camera at Riverside Boat Club. So they've come around Magazine Beach. That's kind of a long sweeping turn, not very, it just takes a while to get through it. It's not a sharp turn. And right behind them, it looks like Williams College.
And then over to bow number 12, Angry Beavers Rowing Club. This is the MIT heavyweight alumni. So you'll notice on the top of the screen there's an overlay graphic, and it's using live data from the 4 timing stations positioned along the river to show a leaderboard. So we're able to get in real time timing markers from those 4 positions. So of course they're subject to change at the next timing marker. It's not that there's a GPS device on the shell itself, but very, very cool this year to be able to be involved in the race to that level in real time. So have a look at that graphic, and it'll change throughout. For now, though, picking up these crews as they move towards the long turn and indeed row around the long turn. So we'll get a look at this bow card in just a moment. Looking like bow number 1.
Yeah, and that is the boat from San Juan, Puerto Rico, I believe. That is the Club Náutico de San Juan. And they say that they're back for another spin on a great course. This is the men's Masters 4s that are approaching the finish of their race, coming through the last bridge, Elliott. And they were sitting in second place in terms of where you see on the leaderboard as they came through the last checkpoint. And their coxswain is Benson Stevens, a coxswain that I worked with back when I was working with Sarasota Crew more often. He went to Brown University, so maybe that's why it looks like they're using Brown equipment.
Coming then towards that vantage point on the Windsor dock. Great part of the race to be in, because it means you're almost done with it. Now we're back at Weeks Footbridge, though, which is about halfway or so, a little more than halfway through the course, riding with bow number 13.
East Bay, and it looked like 16 was right behind them, Coast Guard Academy, unless that's 6 from the net now, 16, so Coast Guard. Those are the 2 boats in your picture.
Getting a little tight there, aren't they, as they come toward Anderson, but making it work for them. They're pointed towards the center arch of the next bridge, and you can pretty safely have 2 crews row side by side here.
Yeah, Anderson is one of those bridges where you're probably okay going 2 or 3 wide if you had to. So you see Coast Guard a little bit more speed, but they're rowing at a very low stroke rating if you kind of see the difference. I mean, both crews not rowing terribly high, but the Coast Guard style and their rhythm is to really let the boat glide out. They're rowing at a low stroke rating. And coming around the big turn, looks like bow 6, which is the boat from Occoquan. They say they're all alums of George Mason University, are these 4 rowers in coxswain.
Picking up a good point as they come through the center arch of Elliott. Just behind them then, bow number 4, that's Pocock Rowing Club.
And so we don't know relative to the others, but it does look like Occoquan, let me correct myself, Occoquan has gotten past Pocock at least. And we'll see if we get more pictures of the boats trailing, whether they also got past bow 5 Texas Rowing Center. But again, if you see these boats coming out of order, that means that the higher number, if the higher number is ahead of a lower number, that typically that higher number is having a good race because they've passed some boats.
And Pocock Rowing Club, PRC adult crew wrapping around that last starboard turn. So again, 2 events on the course if you're just joining us on the live stream. The men's Masters 4. And we're riding with up at the finish line. That was Club Náutico de San Juan getting through the finish. The men's Alumni 4s on the course as well. That event took off just about 10 minutes ago. And we can see them now coming out of the powerhouse stretch, and you see those numbers start to get lower again. So this is bow number 6, Evergreen Boat Club out of Hanover, New Hampshire.
Dartmouth. If I had to guess, and I don't want to make generalizations, looks like maybe former lightweight rowers from Dartmouth in that boat. It's like Bowdoin College just above them.
Tricky to come through the weeks together. And and beautiful. We get to see, and not quite beautiful, unfortunately for them, but a nice shot for us to see how that fared. Had an inclination as they came through, because as you can tell now from this angle, it's truly like a left-hand turn that these boats need to make. So if you're coming through with, you know, 2 boats across, you need to do it. You need to be communicating coxswain to coxswain to make it work, and that's less likely to happen in a race than it is with your teammate in practice. So these athletes have recovered, well done, but their job now is to get back on pace, get back into a rhythm, and pretend like it never happened so they can focus on the second half.
What would you say, Colleen? It's about a 60-degree turn that needs to happen
Yeah.
as quickly as possible.
Yes.
So in as few strokes as possible. And so going too wide coming into that turn, you better hope that the inside boat makes that turn as well as they possibly could. Otherwise, if you're on the outside, you are really going to be in trouble. And it looked like that's exactly kind of what happened there. The inside crew didn't take the turn quite as well as probably the outside crew had hoped.
Yeah, you know, what I probably would have done in that case is actually had my 2-seat. So if you're looking from where the coxswain's head is, it's the 1-seat, 2-seat, then 3, then 4 is setting the pace. Have my 2-seat stop rowing just for a few strokes to allow the boat to really cut hard, because that's a space where you'd need that extra water. So there's all kinds of strategies and tactics. By the way, it's really hard to make these decisions in the moment, isn't it, David?
Without question. I mean, it's just like making a split-second decision if you're in a car and somebody's coming at you or otherwise. I mean, you've got to do what you think is right, and you have to commit to the decision. But just knowing going in to the Weeks footbridge, you know, too wide, that's probably not going to work out in anyone's favor unless both coxswains nail it to a T. And that's what we saw there. So coming through Anderson, we still have really bunched up 4s, and that's probably going to make for some good racing, trying to get to that apex of the turn first here, Colleen. You know, if you're in one of these trailing boats but you feel like you got more speed, you're going to really see what you can do to get past these crews so that they don't hinder you all the way around that big turn.
That's right. Coming toward us then, we'll get a sense of bow numbers in just a moment. Looks like bow number 18 in the men's alumni 4, which is Fordham alumni. They say the 4 that never was. So here they are getting their chance to race together, as it were, at the head of the Charles after missing this live regatta. Of course, there was the live erg event last year, which was wonderful and a great way to keep folks participating. They were able to submit on the water times for a very specific distance. But this is the first year since 2019, of course, that we're back together. And coming through the bridge, then the Fordham alumni. University of Pennsylvania lightweight alumni.
I think we're still looking at Masters, because that's a finish line camera, and it looks like Quinsigamond Rowing Club is on the picture, as they sort of put both of these events on the race course at the same time, making it interesting for us. But that is Quinsigamond Rowing Club out of Shrewsbury, Mass. And they say they're just sneaking out of the 50-plus category with an average age of 49 and a half. So they want to be in that, or they assume they will be in that category next year, but they are trying their hand against, in many cases, much younger crews in this men's Masters 4 category at the head of the Charles. And that's bow 16, Coast Guard Academy. They are active and retired Coast Guard officers that are also alums of the Coast Guard Academy rowing team.
Starting to see some of these shells come through the line from the men's Masters 4.
Yeah, that's Nashville coming across the line. Side by side coming out of Anderson, a couple of crews. Those are probably from our next event, the men's alumni 4s, as we are finishing up that men's Masters 4s category.
And the advantage here to be on the left side as you see these crews start to pick up that long turn. So always a lot of depth in these alumni boats. Good to get the gang back together. We saw it in the 8s on both the men and women's sides. We're seeing it again in the 4s. Varying levels of speed, of training, but fantastic to see everyone kind of come back together.
That's about 3 Columbia University and their heavyweight rowing alumni. As obviously, there's also a lightweight team at Columbia in their classes of 2020 and 2021.
So I expect these guys to be quite fit.
And your winner last year was UVA. That's UVA right there, bow card 1. And Cornell was bow card 2. They finished second last year. 27 boats in this men's alumni 4 category.
Good look at Virginia as they come around the turn and towards the last stretch of this race, well into the last 500 meters.
Continues to be more and more people as I look up at the crowd that is adjacent to the race course as you see Columbia go past.
Yeah, great showing on the shores. Over 1,500 athletes at the 2021 head of the Charles. Couldn't happen without all of the wonderful volunteers, of which there are many, with all kinds of jobs, from on the water safety, officials, starting, more announcers on shore for those who are watching in person. Taking a look at bow number 10 coming just by us, it's Hobart College crew, alumni. They say that they're a new crew, a new combination, getting the job done as they come past that last starboard point on what is truly a beautiful day.
Yeah, they have to be doing pretty well. I mean, we'll see where the times shake out, but bow 10, and we had just seen bows 1 and 3 come past that camera not too long ago, maybe a minute ago. So we will see where Hobart lands when the official times come through, as you see some of the men's Masters 4s finishing up. Looks like East Bay right there finishing.
That's bow number 2. BMA Boat Club out of New Canaan, Cornell alum, through the line.